All right, boys.
Welcome.
Episode 3 of the Ep.3 podcast. Welcome, everybody.
All right.
We had life problems yesterday, so we could not film, but we are back at it today. It's gonna be one day late.
And if you're seeing this, make sure you follow us on all the socials: Instagram,
True.
Twitter, TikTok. Haven't been able to post clips. We had some life issues, but we will be back. We will be very active on social media, doing stuff you like.
40 seconds in, already plugging.
Yeah, we have to.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Twitter,
I respect it.
Instagram and Twitter, you'll see clips, and when we'll post TikTok, good clips, YouTube Shorts, we're on all of it. So follow all of that.
I mean, chasing the bag, I respect it. Going for what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know who was similar in this past
week? Amen.
Oh, what a transition
here. Roquan
Wow.
Smith. Okay. He's been trying to get a contract done with the Bears since the springtime, I believe. He doesn't have an agent as far as I know. He represented himself in discussions. And he just couldn't get a deal that fit. You know? And usually when NFL players, they send out something about this, it feels pretty corporate, you know? But it felt, he like seemed really heartbroken from it. But he made the statement very clear that the next place he goes, he wants to get paid like a real franchise middle linebacker. So from that, I feel like staying at the Bears is not an option anymore.
Right.
So, and it's not an option for him to go to a super team because he wants a real deal. So what are some teams you guys are looking at and being like, that's a realistic spot for Roquan?
Me first. I'm sorry, Brennan. I did my research. I have my notes. Perfect landing spot. I don't know if you're going to agree with this. The 12th man, the Seattle Seahawks.
Wow.
It is perfect. It is so perfect. That's not even my juicy take. So think about this. They have not unlimited cap space, enough cap space for a big franchise middle linebacker like Roquan Smith. They have the draft capital to make the trade. They just got, what was it, like 2 firsts and a second for Russ?
Right.
All of that. And this is my big keynote in bold. The former Bears defensive coordinator is the associate head coach and defensive assistant at the Seahawks, who worked with Roquan, probably helped to draft him, obviously liked him if he wanted to draft him, knows he has good character, knows he can get to the ball wherever, whenever, great player. Bobby Wagner's gone. Can Roquan be the new Bobby Wagner? Right. And the big question is, do the Seahawks take a linebacker? Obviously depends on where they draft, but do they take one in the draft, or do they take a solid linebacker in Roquan Smith? That's my take.
I think here's something to consider, right? If you're the general manager, if you're the owner of Seattle, how did you make the Legion of Boom? Did you go out there and you make splash of free agency? You didn't. You drafted those guys, right? If I'm the owner, I'm feeling excited right now because, like, first off, this year, I almost feel like they've committed to the fact that they're the worst team in the NFC West. And I think they're going to ride with that, you know, and they're going to want to find the guys themselves with all this draft capital they just got. But when you say, like, it's a guy that's over there that's, you know, he's got a close personal relationship with Roquan. I mean, that, like, obviously there's some words that could be exchanged there that could be tempting. I just don't know if the Seahawks organization as a whole want a player like that yet. But that being said, they got all that cap room still, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's an intriguing thought to be sure. Do you have anything to add, Brennan?
I have a couple things as well as another team. I think that, well, they did just spend a first-round pick on Mr. Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech, who is a raw product, who has we've seen flashes of that raw athletic ability,
Mm-hmm.
but we have not seen that first round consistency.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for. That they took him for. And I think that, part of Roquan's thing is he wants to be on a winner. And let's be serious. That Bears team not only is not a winner, but their front office is literally a garbage fire right now. It's embarrassing. What they did with this offseason is terrible. They gave Justin Fields no help on the offensive line or weapons besides N'Keal Harry was traded for. N'Keal Harry was traded for.
Ugh.
So I mean, I just don't think they're a functional organization right now, and I think Roquan wants to win, which transition is why I think the Panthers are the perfect fit.
The Panthers.
Come on down to Charlotte, baby. We got cap space.
It is not
We
biased.
got a dynamic duo in Shaq Thompson. Come on down. You know what I'm saying? We got all that cap space. We can pay you, Roquan. Please, I'm begging. I'm actually on my knees. That'd be so hype.
I do like it.
We have the capital.
I do like it. It's just like you have Jeremy Chin, who I almost feel like he's this big dude that part of the advantage of having him on the defense is you don't know if he's going to be a safety or a linebacker. He plays that box role so well. He's just always a mystery. And he keeps quarterbacks second guessing. But if you see Roquan out there, you're just well, Jeremy Chin's going to play the strong safety.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So in the defense, specifically Georgia runs, they have the position called the star, which is that, corner linebacker, hybrid.
Right.
It's what Breeny played originally, starting the season, and what's his name slowly took over. Oh shoot, I don't remember his name. Oh, this is embarrassing.
For who?
Georgia, the star position. A lot of the times, Brendan, most of the time.
Keely Ringo?
No.
Well, is it?
No, he's an outside corner.
But most of the time, don't they just come off the edge? Or?
No, it's almost like I think it's technically what NFL teams would consider a dime, kind of like a linebacker safety hybrid. Hold on, I'm trying to find this player.
Well, while Brennan is finding a player, I'd like to make a comment about Roquan Smith Patterson.
Okay.
All right.
You said it wouldn't be in Seattle's best interest to get a player like that instead draft him.
Right.
I think differently. Roquan Smith, solid as a rock, gets tackles everywhere. I'm pretty sure he hasn't had any injury issues. He's played a full season 3 out of the 4 years. Third or second team All-Pro, I'm pretty sure. Dude has it up here, clearly. I think that would be such a rock for your defense, like Bobby Wagner was to Seattle before they got rid of him. And you could consider him a bit of a vet with that experience. And it's up there with quarterback of a position where you're it's nice to have experience right there,
Right.
So I think it would be a good investment for sure.
I mean, yeah, it's good to have some of those veterans who really know what they're doing. I do think that Seattle likes the liberty of building their own team from the ground up, just from their culture, but I can't say it's not an intriguing idea, and I can't say I wouldn't be excited if that happened. I just don't know if it's super likely, but another team
I
I'm
agree.
surprised.
Is it in Seattle's interest to spend a good amount of money for somebody that's going to probably be the star of a insanely depleted defense when, yes, he'll help, but he's not going to make you win.
Right.
As Brennan said, you could consider them tanking. They clearly have settled, we're now the worst team in the NFC West.
So that makes me think Roquan almost wants to be on a win now team if he feels jaded about the culture of the Bears, And I just feel with the NFC East being so weak and there being like some teams on the rise, like maybe he'd want to go to one of those and be a difference maker. And honestly, the Eagles just made a playoff run and they got a young quarterback, and I kind of trust their head coach. Is it Sirianni? Is that how you say it? I
Yeah.
trust him more than I did Doug Peterson. Um, and I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for that Eagles defense to bring in someone experienced when they kind of are trying to take advantage of the fact that their division's weaker right now. But I mean, still on the topic of the NFC East, I'd never underestimate Ron Rivera's ability to develop talent or to use it to the best of its ability. I think we saw that in Carolina in their 15-1 run that they had. I think that was an elite defense. With sometimes like players that we didn't always recognize as elite because it was just such a good team. The Commanders have a young middle linebacker in Jamin Davis. And, what if Roquan could take him under his wing a little bit, and that could become a very good 1-2 punch up the middle? I think those are intriguing teams with some space to make some moves that may be trying to win right now.
By the way, that Georgia player, 31, William Poole, is who I was thinking about, who replaced Latavius Greene. Yeah.
Dude was getting cooked in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, but he came back and made plays in the national championship.
Yeah.
One other thing I'd like to say.
Yeah.
You could consider a transition. The Jets, I was looking up because I remember seeing on my Instagram feed how, on some page, how Roquan is a perfect fit for them. Their head coach and D coordinator, apparently, not that deep into the Jets, would love a player like Roquan Smith, who can get around to the ball, and they have a ton of cap space, and they'd be able to pay him extensively. And yeah, what we think about the Jets.
Here's the thing with the Jets for me. They just went out and paid another linebacker. I think it's 2 years ago now, C.J. Mosley, and they paid him a lot of money, and it has it has not worked out. So they might have PTSD. I know Saleh likes his middle linebackers. We saw that in Fred Warner.
One thing we were missing,
in San Francisco.
Roquan is entering his prime. He's like 20.
Yeah.
What would he be, like 25, 26?
I think he'll be 20.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But what do the Jets do now? Since they're not in a win now, they're in a rebuilding, but their big chess piece is injured.
I mean, the Jets, I feel like we're starting to move those gears. They had put the offensive line together. They were trying to build up that defense, and they got their young quarterback, who they're now ready to see what he can do. Apparently, there were some stories about maybe Joe Flacco almost outplaying Zach Wilson, but now it's all coming to a screeching halt because Zach Wilson, this preseason, going for a scramble, sustained some sort of leg injury. First thought to be worse than it was. He'll probably make a return some point mid this season.
Will not be back week 1 or 2. Joe Flacco will be the starter. No. But I've seen some people. Zach Wilson is a dog in multiple ways. He put on like 15 pounds of muscle. He's getting that work in the off season in multiple ways. He is like a gritty player who is not your prototypical quarterback, who can make plays, big arm. What do we think about how big of a? Because Joe Flacco now, old. He was probably in his prime, was close to elite. Now he's just way below average. How does this affect the Jets now? Because now they have their spark plug, and he's injured for however long he'll be out, and a top receiver.
Okay, let me be perfectly honest about Joe Flacco. He limits an offense. I watched it before Lamar came around when my Bengals played him. And he was such a check down master his entire career, and we really wouldn't be talking about Joe Flacco had it not been for that Super Bowl run. No Pro Bowls. Think about how
Right.
long he's been a starter in this league. No Pro Bowls. Think about how big of a market Baltimore is, how many people would be voting for him. He just can't get in. And Zach Wilson, an underrated part of his game is the guy can move. When the pocket collapses, Zach Wilson doesn't. He keeps moving. And he tries to find a way to make the play. And trust that with Joe Flacco. I think the play ends when someone gets close to him, which limits an offense and all of a sudden makes the Jets exactly what they didn't want to be, which is kind of a boring team.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is
having Mackay out for the rest of the year is going to be tough. Prayers for him. Torn, what was it? It was his kneecap or something?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he wore down some of his kneecap. So that's the end of him. So that's 2 years robbed from him. And then his rookie year, he played injured a little bit. But gosh, without that protection, because he's their left tackle, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes me fear for the Jets even more.
Yeah. Because now it's
I mean,
harder for
they got
Flacco to get to those checkdowns like Michael Carter and
Exactly.
Williams, and yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, they have a good interior pieces now with the signing of Carl Lawson
Right.
in the offseason. And they went out and drafted, I don't know if it was 2 years ago or just last year, but Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC.
Mm-hmm.
Both are solid to above average starters. But they're really hurting at that offensive tackle position. I did see that they went and signed Dwayne Brown with the injury of Mekhi Becton, the veteran journeyman offensive tackle
Not an awful
who most
pickup.
recently had a stint. Yeah, who most recently had a stint with the Seahawks. So that'll be interesting. I think that we always talk about how good Joe Flacco was on the Pro Bowl run. To be honest, I don't think the Ravens win the Super Bowl if Ray Lewis and Ed Reed don't exist.
Yeah.
But that's just my take.
So does anybody have a transition into the circus that the first week of the NFL preseason has been?
Well, I don't, but actually I do. Zach Wilson, from a very illustrious quarterback class, but we didn't really get to see all of them play. Very largely, preseason's a great time for that. We saw Trey Lance and Jordan Love duel the other night. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of which got super big reps their rookie year. And to be blunt, one flashed and one didn't. Trey Lance was looking miles better, making incredible throws, and honestly just finding the best ways to use his weapons.
Right.
And then you look at Jordan Love, and it wasn't awful. It was just turning over the ball.
Yeah.
It was just so consistently throwing away drives against a team that isn't even at their full force at that point.
Yeah. I think when you watch that game and if you watch the highlights, you see the difference between an NFL starter and a backup. I think
And there it was.
yeah. We don't have to go too deep. I think Jordan Love, terrible draft pick. I think he's no good. He will never be a successful starting quarterback in the NFL. I think even though they both came from small schools, y'all can laugh. I think Trey Lance is a complete player. Dude is a playmaker. Incredible arm. He will be QB1. I think he and the 49ers can make a deep playoff run. And that's as a Cardinals fan. That's my juicy take. I think Trey Lance has that it factor. Reminds me of a Deshaun Watson who's excellent in college, athletic. Yeah, that's my take.
Hopefully not too much of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no.
But
Couple things for me.
Mhm.
Jordan Love for me. What I always come back to with that pick is, would we be saying Aaron Rodgers, 2-time MVP, 2-time Super Bowl MVP right now, if that Jordan Love pick was maybe Justin Jefferson?
Very
You know what I'm
possible.
saying?
Very possible.
Like,
I mean,
we'll never
it
know.
is that kick. You know that the organization is preparing for your downfall. That's basically what that pick is.
Yeah, but it
And
turns out
Mhm.
he's not it, in my opinion.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, and Aaron Rodgers went out and was like, guess what? I still got 2 more MVPs than me.
Yeah, and
right.
it's similar to the situation with the Tennessee Titans and them seeing that they still have some stuff, but it wasn't similar to the A-Rod situation. Seeing that Ryan Tannehill is not that guy, picking up Malik Willis and him,
Mm,
I know it's preseason, balling out. He looked
yeah.
like, I'm not saying he's comparable, he looked like Mahomes. Crazy arm angles, extending plays. Dude is
Right.
an athlete. I know he's from Liberty. He was phenomenal, fun to watch.
He was
Another
fun. Yeah.
dude, yeah, great. That was, yeah, for sure. And
Couple things to point out with him. It's, first of all, preseason defenses.
okay,
Okay?
Right.
You can look great and do all this stuff. Preseason defense. Okay? Second thing, when we get the real defenses, can he read them? Can he go through progressions, not freak out, and make the right
that's a
play?
good point.
I think the thing with
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the whole point with me throughout the pre-draft process with Malik Willis is that he's got the character, he's got the drive, the athletic ability is never going to be the problem. It's going to be whether he can calm down, sit in the pocket, and make the throws and make the
That's a
progressions.
good point because at Liberty you don't necessarily have to do that. And is reading a defense a weakness? And obviously staying in the pocket is a weakness. But I think if you have an elite running back like Derrick Henry, you don't have to be Superman. And I think Malik Willis has enough talent to just be a solid quarterback who's not going to make mistakes and be able to make the throws when he needs to, unlike Tannehill.
Right.
Speaking
I
of,
think
oh,
he
go
flashed
ahead.
though. He
Yeah,
flashed. And that's really what you want to see is that there's something there. And he's such a low pick in the draft for what he was. Like, just to see
Mm-hmm.
anything was nice. But
yeah.
something I do want to say is that we've been talking about a decent bit of quarterbacks, but we saw some weapons that were actually playing decently. Like,
George Pickens.
I'm really not a George
Mm-hmm.
Pickens believer, but the way he was playing in the preseason, I mean, he was undeniably balling. um,
Wide
he was
receiver
playing real
one.
well, and that's what the Steelers do. They draft late and they find a guy who's perfect, so character, but great wide receiver. Um, so I mean, it's hard not to have faith when he's got all these things going for him. And I watched him in college. I know the dynamic playmaking is there. What are our thoughts on George Pickens?
He has been doing, I don't know if you've seen the clips, he has been doing so well in camp. He
Yeah.
obviously has the circus catches. He's that guy that you just throw the ball up to. Has been doing well in the preseason. I think he, you know, he can be that new AB. He
Interesting.
is
That
uber talented.
seems to be a ceiling, yeah.
Yeah. What's the floor? I guess that's the question because you don't
Right.
know. I think unless Brennan has something to say, so the last thing I'll say about preseason is people overreact. It's not that big of a deal. Again,
Right.
preseason defenses, you're not going all out. No, last season people
Jamar
are, oh,
Chase.
Jamar Chase is dropping
Jamar
passes.
Chase.
He sucks.
Yeah.
He was offensive rookie of the year. Yeah, I think preseason it can show stuff, but I think people overreact a bit. So we'll definitely have to judge people when they actually play.
This
Brennan, you
could
got
have aged
anything?
like milk.
Yeah, better.
Mm-hmm. 2 more things for me about the preseason. One, I think looking forward, Steelers are going to look very nice. You have that George Pickens. You have your Chase Claypool if he gets his mind in the right place. You have the tight end. Oh my goodness, what's his name? What's
Pat
his name?
Freiermuth.
Yeah, Frymouth. You have, Kenny Pickett, who is another guy who flashed in the preseason.
Or Money Mitch.
He's reported.
Or Money Mitch. Don't forget
He's
Sir
okay,
Mitchell Trubisky. That quarterback battle is not over.
He is a guy who reportedly struggled in camp, but I saw flashes of that Pitt Heisman candidate in the preseason game. And talking about quarterbacks, I sat down the other day and watched every single second of the Carolina Panthers and Washington Commanders preseason game. And my days, Baker Mayfield looked good, ladies and gentlemen. He went through his reads. He had protection. By the way, Akeem Ekwonu played lights out. They officially stated today, Matt Rule said he is our left tackle one going into week one, which I think was the right call to make. We did take Blake Christensen out of Michigan in the third round last year. Akeem officially won that spot. I think that's the right decision. And if Baker plays like that, we maybe get Roquan, I think we're looking at a team on paper that is a NFC conference contender. I mean, we have a really rough division. I mean, the Falcons are a joke, but the Saints and the Buccaneers are both realistic contenders, and it really does suck. But if we get 2020 Baker, I really think we can turn some heads this season.
I want to say one more thing, and then we can go to our last segment. Sam Howell for the Commanders balled out, by the way. I haven't added that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Howell.
Great pick for the Commanders.
I completely
Great
forgot
pick.
about that. Yeah, Sam Howell.
Mm-hmm.
If Carson Wentz is not the answer, or Carson Wentz is injury prone sometimes, I trust Sam Howell to make smart decisions just from what I've seen. So yeah, fantastic pick, I think.
Yeah. So Brennan made the comparison.
Curtis Samuel always also look explosive, by the way, after a couple seasons of injuries.
Brennan made a great comparison. Saints and Panthers, great playmakers on the offensive side, have weapons on defense, aren't the most fundamentally sound team when it comes to overall defense, but aren't awful. Both have struggling O-lines. Both have questionable quarterbacks. Both have elite running backs along with those playmakers. I think the difference in that division is who is going to have the better quarterback because they're so equal. Because Baker is pretty obviously now QB1. I think that's been made obvious. Who can Baker Mayfield outplay Jameis or if they need to, Taysom Hill, whatever.
Ian Book.
Okay, hot take.
Okay.
I think right now, Baker Mayfield is better than Jameis Winston.
I agree.
That's my hot take.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, maybe it's not a hot take, but
okay. So
Baker Mayfield is better than Tom Brady.
No,
you heard it here first.
From what we saw last year, because gosh, he didn't look amazing, and there's so many question marks. But honestly, I do have faith in Baker Mayfield. That I can't really explain, but I just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's just got that dog in him,
like Zach Wilson. So the Steelers.
Okay, not that
last thing about the preseason. I keep coming back. This will be quick. I just want answers.
The Crumb kid from Kansas City. I just gotta throw his name out.
Mm-hmm.
He was scrambling like a madman.
Who can be that guy for the Steelers? Great offensive line, receivers, Claypool, Pickens, tight end Freiermuth, Najee Harris, great defense. Who do you trust more at the quarterback position to just, again, like Malik Willis, not be Superman, can handle a talented team, go through his reads, stay in the pocket, deliver, win games when he needs to? Who is that guy? Is that Kenny Pickett, the rookie, or is it Mitch Trubisky, who has NFL experience? Patterson or Brennan?
Okay. In terms of quarterback development, it's usually not good to throw a quarterback to the wolves. In the situation you described, I don't think I could express how quickly I would choose Kenny Pickett. I don't even think there's a measurement of time that describes how quickly I would press the Kenny Pickett button. Not that I don't trust Mitchell Trubisky. I just don't think we're ever going to see what we saw in the Bears that one year because the offense was pandering to him. It's like it was a so-so team that ran through a so-so quarterback that could have been better with someone more dynamic. He needs everything to be just right
But the
for him to
Steelers
be
around
good.
are better than so-so, wouldn't you say?
I'd say
Yeah, I would say
so.
they're an above
Yeah.
average team.
I'd
Yeah.
say it's hard because their division is very good. But I'd say like
Mhm.
if I was making a list of teams, they'd be above 16. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's the only situation where Mitchell Trubisky succeeds if you really want him to. Whereas I think
Really?
Kenny Pickett, I just trust more mentally and I trust more physically. Um, so I do think that Mitchell Trubisky is going to win this quarterback competition. He's going to start maybe 3 weeks. He's going to have a game where he throws 2 interceptions. They maybe get a field goal up an entire half, and they're going to be like, let's bring in Kenny. I think that's how it's going to go. That's how it goes a lot of the time. But I think in this situation, Kenny Pickett ends up the starter for the long haul in Pittsburgh. Because if you draft him in the first round, what do you want to do with him? What do you think, Brandon?
I am also pressing the Kenny Pickett button because, okay, hear me out. The Bears, once again, horrible organization, okay? Very little weapons. Yes, he had Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney later into his career. But the thing with me is he just looked like a broken quarterback. He looked like someone who had completely forgotten how to make reads and how to throw the ball longer than 20 yards. He just looked like a broken quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other example I can think about of the last time I saw someone that bad was, I mean, like a Ben Roethlisberger last year.
Yeah, he was rough for sure.
Yeah, just like a broken, washed up quarterback who just forgot how to play the
The
position.
stats didn't show it, but if you watched Big Ben, you knew it was
Yeah.
time. You knew it was time like 3
Yeah.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are we going to the last segment?
Yeah, what we're gonna do it quick, rapid fire. The AP poll came out
Okay.
yesterday. What are our quick thoughts?
First off, the fact that you can win a national championship and not be top 2 is ridiculous to me. That's my first thought.
Mm-hmm.
My second thought is that right now NC State is like 13th, right?
Yes, sir.
So do you think,
Yes, sir, baby.
Brennan, do you think they're going to be like an 11 and 12 team? That's what number 13 means. I don't see it.
No.
And
No, I don't either. I'm just hyping them up because I love them. But go Pack, baby. Go Pack. Woo.
And I feel like in terms of the Pac-12, as far as the Pac-12 goes, if you were going to pick a conference runner, it would be Utah. And I understand that.
What do you think about them at 7?
It's too high.
I agree.
That's like in the mix to make the playoffs, and I just disagree. I'm sorry, I disagree. And then same with Oklahoma State. I just don't see anyone from the Big 12 or the Pac-12 being in contention for a playoff spot.
You think Baylor at 10 is too high?
Oh, Baylor has a shot of winning the conference.
I think
Baylor was a really solid team last year.
I think Baylor is going to win the Big 12. Oh, no. I think Baylor's – actually, is Oklahoma coming over yet? Oklahoma's not coming over yet. Right?
I don't know. Who's even starting at quarterback now?
The freshman.
Oh, okay.
The guy who took Spencer Rattler's job. But
No. He's out.
Yeah, he's at USC.
Caleb Williams is out.
He went to USC.
He's at USC.
You didn't know that?
This?
Yeah, he's out because Lincoln. Yeah, he went with Lincoln Riley to USC.
Oh my god.
So
never
Who's
said
starting for them
anything.
now?
So yeah, I don't know. I do think they're still better. Oklahoma is better than Oklahoma State, but if you have Oklahoma State, Baylor, Oklahoma, all top 15 from a conference that might not be represented in the playoffs, what's the point?
Yeah.
My fast takes, really quick. I think that USC is a sleeper. I think they're perfect for right now. I think Utah's a little high. Go Pack, but NC State, I honestly don't even know where they're getting that from. You guys know my opinions on Ohio State. I'm honestly keeping it together right
Brennan
now
wouldn't
as
even rank
best I
them.
can. I think they're too talented not to put them in the top 25. I think they're definitely top 10. But like you said, Pat, to have a reigning
national
champ,
championship.
yeah, and to look around and see how much talent we have. I mean, we're talking about the number 2
These are
recruiting class.
Coaches coming together and being like, if the national championship was played right now, Georgia wouldn't be in it. And I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially since the Ohio State, I am a believer in them. They are a team of speculation right now.
Yes.
For sure. Okay, my fast takes, 2 things. Do we think that teams were put too high? Because, yes, they probably have a good chance to win the conference, but there is a chance that they go 8-4 or 9-3 and aren't elite, but they still win the conference. Because top 10, if you're put top 10, and you can't really justify it except for, they'll win the conference. Top 10 is an elite team. If you go 8-4 and win your conference, you are not an elite team.
Exactly.
Pitt last year won the ACC. What were they, like 9-3, 10-2, something like that? They were not an elite team. Not really that close either. They didn't even finish in the top 10. So I think a lot of this is an overreaction. And last thing, when you can talk about like how conferences were like spread out in the rankings, like all 5 power conferences had 3 teams top 15, and then all the SEC coming in the back, and like how that fits. And you can talk about, too high, too low. I feel like you have to see how the season plays out, because who's going to replace him, I think that's the big question. So I think we'll have to see how the season plays out.
Sure. By the way, Notre Dame in the top 5, who's responsible for it? We might have to have a discussion.
I honestly can't even name their quarterback.
Notre Dame, none of them got last names on the back of their jersey. I don't know who any of them. They're all NPCs.
One thing. Are people overreacting to the Marcus Freeman hype / recruiting?
It's hard to say because we don't know the value, like the financial value that there is for teams and players. We're just going to see how this year unfolds, honestly. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. And with that, boys, episode 3 of the 8th round pick is wrapped up. Next week we'll be talking about maybe some fantasy football. Maybe a little bit of fantasy football. Deontay Johnson got into some trouble recently.
Yes,
maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe even some award predictions.
Ooh.
We'll see.
Maybe so.
All right. So stay tuned. Check us out on YouTube and Spotify.
And
Until
Instagram,
next time,
Twitter,
boys.
TikTok. Like our socials and our shorts.
Always plugging.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye, boys.